A last platter of roasted chicken, old and brown and fragrant with rosemary and lemon, found its place at the center of the dining table. I stepped back, surveying my work. The table was a masterpiece of domestic effort. Polished silver, flickering candlelight, 2 main dishes, and a soup, all of Jallen's favorites. It was a meal meant to bridge the growing silence between us, a peace offering for the late nights he claimed were spent at the law firm. My phone buzzed, shattering the quiet. A glance at the screen showed my husband's name, Jallen. He should have been walking through the door any minute, not calling. "Hello?" I answered, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "Astra, we need to talk." His voice was infuriatingly calm, as if discussing a mundane change in the weather. "Next week on Wednesday, the whole family is heading to Palm Springs for a week. I've already booked the plane tickets and a vacation rental." My knuckles went white as I gripped the phone, a familiar suffocating tightness clenching in my chest. This was the 3rd time. 3 years of marriage, and not once had I been invited on their annual family trip. My own voice came out, eerily composed, a placid lake hiding a tempest. "The whole family, you say? Your parents, your brother Marcus and his new girlfriend, your aunt and your cousin. That's 6 people." I forced a deliberately cheerful tone, a skill I had perfected. "The rental we booked only has 3 bedrooms. If there are too many of us, it'll be a hassle. So, you don't have to come." I took a deep breath, my eyes scanning the meticulously prepared meal. All that food, all that hope for a quiet dinner together was destined for the garbage. "Oh, I see," I said, my voice a distant echo. "Well, you all have a wonderful time. I knew you'd understand, Astra. You're the most accommodating person I know." I could hear his sigh of relief, a sound that felt like a physical blow. "Oh, and while I'm gone, don't forget to water the flowers in the garden and my succulents." "Right, okay." I hung up, standing frozen in place. The phone screen went black, and it felt as if a light had extinguished inside my heart. The first time, the excuse was that I had just had a miscarriage. And a long trip would be too much for me. The second, my job was too demanding. This year, he hadn't even bothered with a convincing excuse. I began to clear the table mechanically, scraping the untouched food into the trash. My wrist trembled, and a plate, a wedding gift, slipped from my hands, shattering on the tile floor. The shards scattered, brilliant and sharp. How they looked so much like me at that moment. A marriage that seemed perfect on the outside, yet crumbled at the slightest touch. My phone buzzed again. The family group chat. A message from my mother-in-law. "Guys, we're doing Palm Springs again this year. We leave Wednesday, so don't forget the sunscreen. They say it's going to be hot." A flurry of celebratory emojis followed. I stared at the words. The whole family. My eyes welled up with tears. To them, I wasn't family. I was a stranger, an unpaid housekeeper. I pulled out a family photo from last year's trip to San Diego. Jallen had his arm around his brother Marcus. My mother-in-law, in a flashy sundress, sat in the center, and my father-in-law, looking solemn, stood to the side. Next to them were his cousin and Marcus's girlfriend at the time. All 7 of them were beaming with the blue ocean and palm trees in the background. That day, I was home alone with a high fever. I called Jallen and he told me, "Take some Tylenol and get some rest. You'll be fine. We're on a boat and the signal is bad. Gotta go." And he hung up. I sank to the floor, picking up the ceramic pieces one by one. A sharp edge bit into my finger and blood welled up, but the physical pain was nothing compared to the ache in my soul. My phone rang. A video call from my best friend, Serena. I quickly wiped my eyes, pasted on a fake smile, and answered. Serena, you wouldn't believe the angry client who came into the salon today, she began, but her voice stopped abruptly. She squinted, bringing her face closer to the screen. What's wrong with you? Your eyes are all red. Nothing. I was cutting an onion and they started stinging. I tried to smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. Don't lie to me. You think I've known you for more than 10 years for nothing? Serena's brow furrowed. What did that jerk Jallen do this time? Under her piercing gaze, my armor crumbled. In a few hushed words, I explained everything. I feel like I'm the one being made a fool of, I whispered. You? It's Jallen and his family who are making fools of themselves. Astra, wake up. These people don't see you as family. I fell silent. Deep down, I already knew it. I just didn't want to admit it. 3 years ago, in our stunning wedding, Jallen had knelt and promised me happiness. The image was still vivid. How had we gotten here in the blink of an eye? Astra, Serena's voice turned serious. You remember you signed a prenup, right? I nodded. It was a month before the wedding. Jallen had suddenly proposed it, claiming it was a family tradition. Although it made me uncomfortable, I signed to prove I wasn't after his money. The house is in your name. That's separate property. Right? It was a wedding gift from my parents. We registered it as a separate asset only in my name. I frowned. Why do you ask? No reason, Serena hesitated. I just want you to take better care of yourself. Hey, since his family is going away next week, why don't you come and stay with me for a few days? I gently declined. After we hung up, I stood by the living room window, looking out at the manicured lawn Jallen so carefully tended. We had bought this house when we got married. My parents paid the down payment, and I covered the renovation costs with my savings. Jallen's family contributed a minimal amount, but they insisted his name be on the deed. For appearances, they said. Lying in bed alone that night, a thought, clear and cold, finally crossed my mind. Did I really want to continue this? For 3 years, I had strived to be a good wife, an exemplary daughter-in-law. I cared for my husband meticulously, and even put up with my brother-in-law's insolence. What had I received in return? The deliberate exclusion from the group chat, my husband's increasingly frequent absences, and an annual family trip I was always left out of. My phone lit up. A message from Jallen. Honey, you still awake? I'll be gone next week, so make sure to lock the door tight. Oh, and my mom wants you to buy her some gifts typical of Palm Springs. Buy some nice gift boxes tomorrow and get them ready for her. Reading the message, I started to laugh, laughing until I cried. That was it. This was really the end. How long do you plan to keep lying to yourself, Astra? I wiped my tears and sent a message to Serena. Are you free tomorrow? I need some legal advice now. The cold moon shone high in the sky. I knew some things were irreversible. The morning sun crept through the bedroom curtains. I opened my eyes, but the other side of the bed was still empty. Jallen, as expected, had not come home last night. It was the 7th time this month. I got up and opened the closet. My fingers brushed past countless dresses before stopping at an elegant pantsuit. I chose it on purpose today. Jallen always said dresses made me look like a model wife. I washed my face and looked at myself in the mirror. My 29-year-old face already showed profound exhaustion. The fine lines under my eyes and my dull skin were a testament to 3 years of a repressed life. I covered the traces of last night's crying with makeup. Ding dong! The doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Serena's signature short hair and sharp gaze. She was holding 2 coffees and a paper bag with the delicious smell of pastries. I knew you wouldn't have had breakfast. As soon as I opened the door, she put the food in my hands. I got you an Americano with a little milk and no sugar, and your favorite croissant. The rich aroma of the coffee comforted me. In this city, besides the barista, Serena was the only one who remembered my preferences. Jallen didn't even know I was allergic to peanuts. Last year at a family gathering, he insisted on serving me a salad full of nuts, saying it was delicious. Tell me, what kind of legal advice do you need? Serena took her laptop out of her bag and got straight to the point. I stirred my coffee and began to speak, weighing each word. If I wanted to get a divorce, how could I protect my rights? Serena's eyes lit up. Finally, you've come to your senses. She quickly opened several files. First, we need to clarify your financial situation. You said the house is in your name, right? Yes, it was a wedding gift from my parents. I registered it as my exclusive property. But after we got married, Jallen insisted on adding his name, for appearance's sake, he said, and I, being a softie, agreed. I forced a bitter smile. Serena's forehead wrinkled. When was that? About 6 months after the wedding. He asked me every day. He said his co-workers' wives had done it, and he was the only one who hadn't, and he was embarrassed at work. Serena's fingers flew across the keyboard. This is a bit complicated, but since it's a separate asset and you paid the down payment, that part and the appreciation belong to you. Who paid for the renovation? Mostly me. With the money I saved from work, about $70,000. Jallen's family contributed about $15,000. Do you have proof? Yes, I kept the renovation contract and all the receipts. Serena looked satisfied. The next thing is to gather evidence. Do you know exactly how much Jallen earns? The question left me blank. Jallen's income. We managed our own money. He gave me an approximate figure, but I had never asked for the details. He earns about $150,000 a year. He gives me $100 a month for household expenses. The rest we handle on our own. Serena's eyebrows nearly met in the middle. What? You've been married for 3 years and you still have separate accounts? And you've been paying the mortgage on the house. My voice trailed off. Jallen said he had to invest his money and his parents were getting older, so he had to have a cushion for medical expenses. Astra, Serena slammed her hand on the table. Don't you realize they're scamming you? That's not a normal marriage. My eyes filled with tears again. Even to me, it sounded ridiculous. To others, I was the woman who lived in a luxurious house and drove a high-end car. But the reality was I had to think twice before buying a decent coat. Meanwhile, Jallen had gifted his mother a $20,000 gold bracelet without a second thought. We need to find out his financial situation, Serena said with a serious tone. Do you have access to his computer or documents? The office is always locked. He says he has confidential client information. Suddenly, I remembered something. But I have an emergency key. I could go in when he's not there. Be careful. You can't let him find out, she warned me. The most important things are bank statements, investment records. And, she paused, do you have any proof of infidelity? My heart skipped a beat. Infidelity? A possibility I had tried to ignore with all my might was finally coming to the surface. After Serena left, I stood in front of the office door with the key in my hand. When we got married, we promised to respect each other's privacy. Because of that, I had never entered his personal space without permission. Today I had to break that rule. The sound of the key in the lock seemed unnaturally loud. When I opened the door, a faint smell of men's cologne hit me. The office was impeccably tidy. The law books on the shelf were arranged by height. And there wasn't a speck of dust on the desk. I checked the drawers. In the top one, a few unimportant work documents. In the middle one, several photo albums. I opened them at random. They only had pictures of Jallen and his family, with only a few of the two of us together. The bottom drawer was locked. That anomaly only increased my suspicions. Looking around, my eyes fell on a small safe behind the bookshelf. Jallen had bought it last year to store important documents. I tried our anniversary date. Error. His birthday. Error. Finally, I entered his mother's birthday. The safe opened with a click. Inside, there was a stack of well-organized documents. On top of everything, a copy of the property deed. My heart went cold as I opened it. It was the deed to my house, but under the owner section, it clearly stated Jallen Black and Astra Miller in a joint tenancy. I remembered perfectly that in the beginning, it was only about adding his name with a minority share. I continued searching and found several bank statements. The balance in Jallen's account stunned me. It wasn't the $150,000 he had told me. It was nearly $1.5 million. Furthermore, every month there were regular transfers of between $3,000 and $15,000 to a Valerie. At the bottom was an elegant velvet jewelry case. I opened it with trembling hands. Inside, a diamond necklace I had never seen in my life. The receipt said Tiffany's. The price exceeded $25,000. The purchase date was my birthday last year, but my gift had been a simple bouquet of flowers. Under the case was another photo. Jallen was hugging a young woman by a resort pool. They were wearing matching swimsuits and smiling radiantly. On the back, in my husband's handwriting, was a note. To my love, Valerie, Palm Springs, August 2023. That was the exact week he had claimed to be on a business trip. My world came crashing down. All his extra hours, the successive absences, the inexplicable expenses, everything made sense. The vibration of my phone almost made me drop the photo. It was Jallen. Honey, I won't make it for dinner tonight. I have a work dinner. I stared at the message and then looked at his profile picture on the messaging app. He was sitting in a luxurious restaurant. Reflected in the wine glass was a hand with red painted nails on the other side of the table. When I zoomed in on the image, the silhouettes of him and a long-haired woman could be seen in the window's reflection. In that moment, my mind became strangely clear. All my doubts and self-blame had found their answers. I wasn't paranoid or overly sensitive. I was just an idiot who was being cheated on. Calmly, I took pictures of all the evidence and sent them to Serena's encrypted email. Then, I put everything back in its place. I closed the safe and left the office. At 10 o'clock at night, Jallen came home smelling of alcohol. Sitting on the living room sofa, I watched him with an empty gaze as he stumbled to take off his shoes. Honey, you're still awake. He came over to kiss me, but I turned my head away. You smell like perfume. I don't like it, I said in a flat voice. Jallen paused for a moment and then laughed. It was for work. Honey, it must have rubbed off on me a little. Those clients wear really strong cologne. Oh, really? I looked him directly in the eyes. Is that Valerie a client too? Jallen's expression froze. His drunkenness seemed to vanish instantly. What? What are you talking about? Nothing. I stood up. It just occurred to me. You must be exhausted having to entertain that client so many times a month. Jallen's face went from red to white. Astra, listen to me. I can explain. You don't need to explain anything. I cut him off. I'm tired. I'm going to sleep. I have to go buy those gift boxes for your mom tomorrow." "You didn't forget, did you?" I turned around and went into the bedroom. Jallen was left alone in the living room with a completely bewildered expression. As I closed the door, I leaned against it. I heard his nervous footsteps outside and his voice whispering on the phone. He was undoubtedly calling Valerie to warn her. My phone lit up. A message from Serena. "Evidence received. With this, he's done. Come to the office tomorrow and we'll talk in detail. And this time, listen to everything I say." I replied with an okay and deleted the conversation history. I lay in bed and stared at the ceiling. My mind was strangely calm. The old Astra would have spent the night crying. But the one now just felt like laughing. Jallen carefully opened the door and lay down next to me as if nothing had happened. In the darkness, I could hear him deliberately holding his breath, pretending to be asleep. "Jallen." I broke the silence suddenly. "What resort are you going to in Palm Springs?" His body tensed visibly. "Just a normal resort. One that the company has a deal with." "Oh, really?" I chuckled. "It's not the Oasis Club again." "Is it? They say the private villas with pools are super expensive." Jallen sat up with a start. "Have you been spying on me?" "Spying?" I turned to look at him. The moonlight illuminated his face, twisted by panic and anger. "Is there a need?" "You forgot to block me on Facebook last November. Check in at the Oasis Club. By the way, the Tiffany's necklace in the picture was beautiful." Jallen's face contorted. "Astra, how dare you look at my phone? I'm sorry, I can't assist with that request." "And it turns out you had someone else on the side? Jallen, you really don't disappoint me." Jallen's face turned pale. Suddenly, he grabbed a pillow and threw it with all his might against the wall. "Stop it! Do you think I did it because I wanted to? I'm sick of seeing that long face of yours every day when I come home. Valerie is 100 times more affectionate than you. She knows how to make a man happy." I watched his mad outburst in silence. Suddenly, it all seemed so ridiculous. This was the man I had defied my parents for to marry, a coward who, after cheating, still had the audacity to blame others. "All right, let's get a divorce," I said lightly. "You can go with that Valerie, and I'll live my life in peace." "Divorce?" Jallen burst out laughing, as if he had heard the joke of the century. "In your dreams!" "Half of this house is mine. If you get a divorce, how are you going to live? Your measly salary won't even cover the mortgage." So that was it. He had it all figured out. He was sure I would never dare to ask for a divorce. Seeing his smoke face, I laughed. Well, we'll see. Jallen hadn't expected that reaction and was left speechless. I lay back down, turned off the light, and turned my back on him. I could feel his gaze of bewilderment and anger fixed on my back in the darkness. "Astra," he finally said through clenched teeth, "don't you dare do anything stupid. I've had my eye on this house for a while. My brother Marcus is getting married and he needs a place." So that was it. I closed my eyes, my nails digging into my palms. The whole family had planned this for a long time. They wanted to take from me, live in my house, and in the end, take it from me to give to my brother-in-law. Jallen started snoring. I didn't sleep a wink all night. At dawn, I got up quietly. I packed some essentials and important documents, and I left the house stealthily. The morning air was exceptionally fresh. I took a deep breath and called Serena. "Serena, I've decided. I'm going to get back everything that's mine." On the other end of the line, Serena's voice was full of determination. "That's the spirit." "I'll be waiting for you at the office. The war has begun." I hung up and hailed a cab. In the rearview mirror, I watched the house where I had lived for 3 years get smaller and smaller. This time, I wasn't going to falter. Serena's office was on the 28th floor of a glass skyscraper in the downtown LA financial district. I sat in the meeting room. In front of me, Serena had printed out all the evidence. "The situation is worse than I thought," she said, adjusting her glasses. "According to these bank statements, over the last 2 years, Jallen has transferred a total of $330,000 to that Valerie person. This is a clear act of dissipation of marital assets." I nodded in silence. My fingers unconsciously traced those cold numbers, $330,000, the equivalent of several years of my salary, and he had given it so easily to another woman. But the most serious thing is this. Serena unfolded a stack of papers. I checked Jallen's credit history. 3 months ago, he took out a loan for $800,000. The purpose? Home renovation. But you didn't have any recent renovation plans for your house. Did you? $800,000? I looked up in shock. He didn't say a word to me. He wasn't going to tell you, Serena scoffed. That money, 1 week after it entered his account, was transferred to Valerie in 5 installments. I think that scumbag bought that woman a house. My voice trembled. Do you really think so? It's very likely. Serena nodded. But that's not the most urgent problem. Look at this. She opened a digital file. It contained a transcript of Jallen's and his brother Marcus's text messages. I got this through a special channel, Serena explained. It's difficult to use as direct evidence in a lawsuit, but it's enough for us to know what they were planning. I read the messages, my blood running cold. Marcus, bro, did you tell your wife about the mortgage on the house yet? Jallen, not yet. I was planning to tell her after the trip. She's been a little weird lately. I think she suspects something with Valerie. Marcus, so what? We have to make a down payment for the condo my girlfriend and I saw next week. Jallen, don't be in such a hurry. My name is on the deed to the house. 2, even if she objects, she can't do anything. If she gets difficult, I'll tell Mom to talk to her. She always listens to Mom. I stared at the screen, a rock crushing my chest. They had been planning to mortgage my house to buy my brother-in-law a condo for a long time. Legally, to get a mortgage on a jointly owned asset, the consent of just one of the owners is sometimes enough, Serena said seriously. If they act first, you'll be in a very unfavorable situation. Then what do? I clenched my fists. Do I have to stand by and do nothing? Of course not. A sharp light gleamed in Serena's eyes. We have to beat them to it. Your parents paid the down payment and you paid for most of the renovation. You have proof of everything. We can argue that Jallen is the main culprit in the breakdown of the marriage and request a new division of assets. I thought for a moment, and then something occurred to me. Serena, what if I could prove that the joint tenancy deed was forged by Jallen? Serena's eyes lit up. You have proof? I'm not sure, but I remember perfectly that in the beginning it was a tenancy in common. Also, the notary stamp and the signature on the deed in the safe looked a little different. This could be our turning point, Serena exclaimed, hitting the table excitedly. If we prove the deed was falsified, not only would the mortgage be void, but Jallen could face criminal charges. We laid out a general plan. First, I had to secretly gather more evidence. Second, we had to quickly verify the authenticity of the deed. And finally, prepare the divorce petition. As I was leaving the office, Serena gave me a set of keys. It's a small apartment I have. It's empty now. Stay there for a while. Don't go back to the house. A cornered Jallen could do anything. I hugged her gratefully. As I exited the building, the sunlight was dazzling. My phone rang. It was a call from Jallen. I took a deep breath and answered. Astra, where have you been? Jallen's voice was filled with anger. My mom just called me. She said you still haven't sent her the gift boxes. She needs them for tomorrow. I almost laughed. After everything that had happened, his first reaction was to scold me for not having run an errand for his mother. I'm out. I have some things to take care of, I said calmly. The boxes have been ordered. They'll be delivered directly to your mom's house this afternoon. Jallen seemed bewildered. He hadn't expected me to be so cooperative. Oh, okay. Hey, about last night. Last night? I asked, feigning ignorance. You were very drunk. You kept talking nonsense. There was a silence of a few seconds on the other end of the line. Yeah, I was very drunk. I don't remember anything. Anyway, when are you coming home? I think I'll be late. Something urgent came up at work. Don't wait up. I made up an excuse and hung up. I went straight to the county recorder's office. With a copy of the original deed and my ID, I was able to successfully view the property's historical records. Indeed, it was clearly stated there, tenancy in common, Astra Miller 70%, Jallen Black 30%. However, the current deed indicated a 50-50 joint tenancy. That meant Jallen had falsified the document somehow. I held back my euphoria, immediately took a picture, and sent it to Serena. Bingo, the jerk falsified the type of ownership. This time, he's done for. Great, Serena replied instantly. Now we need to get the original of that falsified deed. It wouldn't be easy. Jallen would surely hide it carefully. I decided to take a risk and go back to the house one more time. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I took advantage of Jallen being in a meeting at the office to go back. As soon as I opened the door, I knew something was wrong. The living room was in disarray, and the drawers of my vanity were wide open. Someone had been looking for something. I went upstairs quietly. I heard a noise in the office. Through the crack in the door, I saw Jallen sweating profusely, rummaging through papers. He kept cursing under his breath. He had come home earlier than expected to look for the deed. I went back downstairs stealthily and closed the front door with a deliberate slam. Honey, I'm home. From upstairs, there was a sound of surprise, followed by Jallen's voice, trying to sound calm. Oh. Hi, honey. I was in the office looking for some papers. I went up and opened the office door. Jallen was standing by the desk, forcing a smile, but the beads of sweat on his forehead and his disheveled hair gave away his nervousness. Why are you back so early? I asked, feigning concern. Oh, there wasn't much to do at the office. Hey, have you seen the house deed? I need some documents to apply for a loan at work. Just as I expected. Inside, I smiled coldly, but on the outside, I put on a bewildered expression. It's not in the safe? I looked and it's not there, Jallen said nervously. You didn't put it somewhere else, did you? And carefully, I pretended to think and then said, last month the Homeowners Association asked us to update the owner information. I took it to make a copy and, of course, my mom has it. She said she wanted to see it and I left it with her. Jallen's face went white as paper. What? How could you give something so important to someone else? My mom is someone else? I shot back. Besides, my name is on the deed too. What's the problem with my own family having it? Jallen was speechless. A vein throbbed on his forehead. Go get it right now. I need it urgently for work. My mom left on a trip. She won't be back until next month, I said, blinking innocently. Are you in such a hurry? Then get the loan with the condo you have in your name. Jallen had a small condo in his name as a separate asset that he rented out. Of course, he didn't want to touch his own property. Forget it. I'll find another way, he snapped irritably. Suddenly, he remembered something. Hey, do you really not remember anything I said last night? You said a lot of things. You talked about Valerie, about Palm Springs, about a necklace. I watched as his face hardened, and then I laughed. I'm kidding. You didn't say anything. You slept like a log. Jallen's face, a picture of relief, was priceless. He came closer to hug me. Honey, I've been so busy lately, and I've neglected you. When I get back from the trip, we'll spend some time together, just the two of us. I skillfully evaded his arms. Hurry up and pack. You have an early flight tomorrow. Jallen awkwardly withdrew his arms and went upstairs. Watching his back, I knew I had to keep up the charade. The most important thing now was to calm him down and buy myself some time. After dinner, Jallen got a call and rushed out, probably to meet Valerie and plan their strategy. I immediately searched the office thoroughly. Finally, on the highest shelf, inside a thick criminal law manual, I found the forged deed. I quickly photographed it as evidence and put it back in its place. As I was about to leave, an envelope in the desk drawer caught my attention. When I opened it, to my surprise, I found a drafted mortgage loan agreement. The appraisal of the house was $1,200,000, the loan amount $800,000, and the purpose, joint family investment. The most terrifying thing was that in the space for the borrower's signature. My signature had been forged very convincingly. It wasn't mine. Jallen had forged my signature. With trembling hands, I photographed all the evidence and carefully put them back where they belonged. Just as I was about to leave the office, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. Astra, her voice was still arrogant. The gift boxes are arriving tomorrow, right? They have to be the good ones with gold details. Don't mess it up. Yes, Mom. Don't worry. Everything is ready, I replied, repressing my nausea. She continued with her orders. While we're on vacation, don't forget to water the plants at home once a week. Jallen's succulents are very expensive. Oh, and I have some pickles in the fridge that I made. They'll be ready next week, so take them out and put them in the sun to dry. I responded with monosyllabic replies while looking at the clock. It was already 10 o'clock at night. Jallen still hadn't returned. I decided not to wait any longer. I packed some clothes and important documents and left the house for Serena's apartment. On the way, I called my parents and explained the situation in broad strokes. Contrary to what I expected, my dad didn't scold me for not listening to him. On the contrary, he said firmly, "Honey, whatever decision you make, your family will always be on your side. We gave you that house. Don't let that man's family take it from you." On the other end of the line, I heard my mom crying. My poor girl. How could you go through all this without telling us? After I hung up, I finally broke down. I cried uncontrollably in the back seat of the taxi. I wasn't fighting alone. My pride had just prevented me from showing my vulnerability to my family. Serena's apartment was small but cozy. I took a hot shower and, lying in bed, reviewed my findings. Jallen's crimes were becoming more and more evident. Infidelity, concealment of assets, falsification of documents, and a signature on a contract. Any of them was enough for him to pay a high price in court. My phone lit up. A text message from Jallen. Honey, an unexpected business trip came up. I'll be gone for a few days. I'll meet the family directly in Palm Springs. We'll talk about the house when I get back. I smiled disdainfully and didn't reply. I went on Facebook and saw that Valerie had posted something new. Thanks for coming. Best gift ever. The attached photo showed a Tiffany's bracelet and a man's hand. The watch on that man's wrist was the one I had given Jallen for his birthday last year. Calmly, I took a screenshot, saved it, and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, the war would enter a new phase, and this time, there would be no mercy. A morning light filtered through the thin curtains. When I opened my eyes, it took me a few seconds to realize where I was. Serena's apartment was small, but I had slept better than I had in the last 3 years. I had 3 missed calls on my phone, all from Jallen, and a text message. "Why aren't you answering? I'm getting on the plane. Lock the front door." I smiled contemptuously and blocked his number and all his social media profiles. The next few days were a whirlwind of strategic action. With Serena and Mr. Jameson, we filed for divorce, citing infidelity, dissipation of assets, and fraud. We also obtained a restraining order that froze all of Jallen's bank accounts and assets. I officially reported the deed as lost and placed a prohibition on any disposition of the property, making it impossible for Jallen to mortgage or sell it. When Jallen and his family returned from their trip, they were met with a legal tsunami. The confrontation at my house was short and brutal. Faced with the mountain of evidence, Jallen's bluster evaporated, replaced by panic. His parents, who had once looked down on me, were now pleading and threatening in the same breath, but I stood firm, surrounded by my legal team and the quiet strength of my resolve. In a final, desperate act, Jallen and his brother broke into the house one night to intimidate me. But I was prepared, and the police arrested them both. The divorce trial was a foregone conclusion. The judge granted everything we asked for. The house was awarded entirely to me. Jallen was ordered to return the $330,000 he had given to Valerie. And he was forced to pay a significant portion of his savings to me as compensation. He was also ordered to pay all my legal fees. A separate criminal trial for document falsification and fraud resulted in a 3-year prison sentence. I sold the house without a second thought, feeling only immense relief. With the proceeds and a newfound sense of invincibility, I accepted a top-level job offer in Singapore, leaving the ghosts of my past behind. For 8 months, I thrived in my new environment, building a successful career and a happy life. But I realized that part of me was still running. True strength, I learned, was not about escape, but about the ability to face your past and choose your future without its shadow looming over you. When an even more prestigious position was offered to me back in LA, I accepted. My return was a triumph. I was no longer Astra, the betrayed wife. I was Astra Miller, a leader, a survivor. My story had become public. And I used my platform to speak about resilience and empowerment at business forums and women's conferences. At one such gala, Jallen appeared, gaunt and broken, begging for another chance. I looked at him, felt nothing, and had security escort him out. As he was led away, screaming that I was ruthless, I turned my back and walked into my future. I bought a new apartment, the deed solely in my name. One evening, standing on my balcony overlooking the glittering LA skyline, I thought about the journey. From a woman shattered by a broken plate to a woman who had rebuilt herself, piece by piece, into something stronger and more beautiful. My husband had come back from his trip with his lover and her family, but I had sold the house, reclaimed my life, and found a home within myself. And that was a foundation no one could ever take away.